Good morning, everyone. It's September the 2nd, 2023. If you go back to one of my videos there, Overdoses Affect All of Us video, it was a sad video as well that I put up about my friend's son dying of an overdose. And I'd like to go on a bit more about that. Yesterday was a very somber day. We went to his funeral yesterday. It was a very, very beautiful funeral. My girlfriend's son, like her, was Indigenous. It was a beautiful ceremony. It was mixed in with our traditional services, what we do in our ceremonies, as well as it was in one of our funeral parlors here. That's very nice now that with Truth and Reconciliation, it's more and more becoming more normal now as well. So it was very lovely yesterday for us all to be able to say goodbye to this young man. Now, as I had stated in the first video there that I was talking about him on the Overdoses Affect All of Us, that he was a young man. He was, at the time I stated under 40, well, he was actually only 30 years old. And this hit me really hard too, because I also knew him when he was about 3 years old. My own daughter is also only 30 years old. They were both born in 1992. There was a lot of eulogies and wonderful things said about this young man. And what I can say about, my memories of him were on Victoria Island in 1995, and this was a rough time for Canada at that time, because during that period of time in 1990 we just had got over the Oka crisis. By 1995 we'd had the Ipperwash crisis, where a police officer killed one of our young warriors at that time. We also had 100 Mile Lodge out in BC, a standoff out there too. And then, of course, everyone said we're having a standoff on Victoria Island, and that wasn't quite the way it was, because they said we overtook Victoria Island, which was not true. It was we wanted to make our point up on Parliament Hill, and they chased us down to Victoria Island. So that's the actual truth. So we were down there, and it was a beautiful time, very peaceful time at the same time, where everyone from all across Canada was coming together. There's quite a history on it, Victoria Island and these islands as being our sacred islands for centuries. We have the pipe and the medicine bowl there as well, dug in beside the falls. So I don't want to just talk about the islands, but this was where we also, my daughter and the children and my friend's son also had their coming out ceremony. For those who don't know what a coming out ceremony is after a child is born to the community. It's usually a year, sometimes 2 years, well, because of the way things were back then. And we had also had the Quebec referendum at that time, and we were really concerned, and everyone was so upset that we were afraid that Canada was going to split apart at the seams. So it was very difficult. But during this time, we had the ceremony for the coming out of the children's, where the mothers would make ribbon shirts for the children. And this is when the children would be introduced to the community. And so the mothers made the ribbon shirts. We did all the traditional stuff for that, and that was so beautiful. But this is where we come out, we make sure that the children are known within the community, and where everyone in the community swears that the children will all be looked up. They will be looked after. They'll be watched over as they grow up. So this is one way that when you talk about it takes a village to raise a child, this is what we're talking about. But we have special ceremonies for that as well. So it was a beautiful time, and I remember this little boy running around, and his mother I'd known for years. And this time, unfortunately, we lost him, not only just to an overdose, it was weed laced with fentanyl, and that killed him this time. So this was very, very shocking to all of us again. But again, he wasn't even one of the homeless. He wasn't on the streets. He was living with his father. He came from a really good family. They did everything that they could for him. But just because he got a bad batch of weed that was laced with fentanyl. This fentanyl is just so dangerous that we're dealing with today. So we had a lovely time. We were able to say goodbye to him. And the other wonderful thing that his family did was that they donated 2 of his kidneys. And I understand that one kidney went to Kitchener, Ontario. The other kidney went to Toronto, Ontario. And it was apparently, from what the family understands, those 2 people who received his kidneys are doing very well and are now having a second chance at life, which was a wonderful thing to do. And unfortunately, little guy, since when I knew him, I keep saying little because I knew him at the age of 3. When he grew up, he had to go from the overdose. But we also, the ceremony was presided over by an Algonquin elder here as well. Now, we're on Algonquin territory. They're not from the Algonquin territory here, but the Algonquin elder also watched this little boy grow up because she was part of that ceremony too. And so she was overseeing him, and her story was so touching that when this little boy grew up, he was determined he was going to become an elder so that he could help look after the community. And he never got that chance. He died at the age of 30. Never got the chance to be one of our elders. And he was doing so well for so long. And just to have this, where all this bad stuff is being mixed in with the drugs. You never know when it's going to happen, or where it's going to happen, or who it's going to happen to. So please, be careful what you take, because it's affecting all of us. It's not discriminating the drugs, young, old, doesn't matter what race you are or what age you are, it's coming at you, and it's coming at us. And this right now, I thought 1995 was bad when Canada thought we were going to be split apart at the seams. It's the drugs now that are splitting not only Canada here, but around the world right now. We're having this epidemic, and it's taking all our young people. And it really does take a village to raise a child, and that's in all cultures. We have to come together and do something with this overdose crisis. And that's about all I have to say today. And I guess one last thing is, if you can, please see that your organs are donated, because out of this grief, at least there's some good that comes. And thank you all for listening, and we shall talk again soon. And take care. Bye-bye.